Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Tracy Nyer, and I'm with the Virginia SBDC. For those of you who are not familiar with us, the Virginia SBDC is the largest and most effective provider of customized counseling and education for small businesses in Virginia. Most of our services are offered locally in 27 locations throughout the Commonwealth. Today's webinar is one of our educational offerings and is part of our ongoing webinar series, Google and Beyond, Marketing and Managing on the Web. Today's topic is G Suite for Small Business, the powerful office productivity suite by Google for small business. All of our webinars are presented by Ray Sidney Smith, a digital marketing strategist and president of W3 Consulting. He's also the author of So Lobo Success, Social Media, Local, and Mobile Marketing Small Business Strategy Explained, and Podcasting for Small Business. That's a separate topic, sorry. And Ray's also a Google Small Business Advisor, Evernote Certified Consultant, and Hootsuite Global Brand Ambassador. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type those questions into the question window, and Ray will do his best to answer them. Here's Ray Sidney Smith.
Thank you, Tracy, and thank you to the Virginia SBDC for having me here on the webinar series, and it's good to be back. Some housekeeping items. If you have any questions, as Tracy noted, feel free to go ahead and ask those in the question panel, and I'll be happy to answer those while we're live and here today. I'm happy to stay as long as we need to answer those questions, pending Tracy's time, of course. If you have any questions just generally after the session, feel free to tweet at me. We have the Beyond Google hashtag that we're using. I am a Twitter fan, and so feel free to go ahead and at W3 Consulting, tweet at me, and I will be happy to answer questions there. I will also have my email address on the final slide, so you can shoot me an email, and I will be happy to answer any questions that are more specific in nature that you may not want to share publicly. Go ahead and follow at Virginia SBDC also on social media, and that way you can learn about their upcoming programs and other materials and resources that they provide across the 29 centers in the Commonwealth. So really good to follow them and keep abreast of those resources. I did want to note and just sort of highlight for what Tracy talked about. I am the Google Small Business Ambassador, Small Business Advisor for Productivity, and I always refer everybody to this link, which is the G Suite help page, but that is a single W in front of our URL. So if you go to w.w3cinc.com/G Suite help, you'll be taken to the Google Help Center for G Suite. And in that space, you will find an answer to likely 98.7% of your questions. If you cannot find an answer to one of those things because it's more related to how do I make G Suite bend to my whims kind of thing, feel free to reach out to me and I'll be happy to try and lead you in the right direction, send you to the right resource, or put you in touch with one of the Google partners who can help you. But general troubleshooting type things, take that to the G Suite help page and type in the question, and you'll most likely find an answer there. Things beyond that, I'm happy to, of course, try to facilitate a solution to that. But I always like to let everybody know I'm here for you, but not for I can't get back into my account type stuff, because I really can't help everybody deal with those kinds of administrative support things. And G Suite does have their own customer support team, so you can write and call G Suite as a paid customer to be able to do that. So go ahead and utilize that. Our agenda today, I want to talk about what G Suite is. It was formerly known as Google Apps, and there were different versions for work, for education, and so on and so forth. But now it's G Suite, and that's because it's a suite of applications, a productivity suite. Just like you would think of Microsoft Office as a suite of tools, G Suite is that type of tool, and we'll talk about what it really is and what it means for small business. And then I'm going to go through an overview of how to set up G Suite. I'm not going to go through the demo portions of how to set it up because it just keeps changing. and so I'm going to walk you through it verbally so you know what to expect, but I'm not going to actually demo today just for time purposes. Then I'm going to talk about how to learn G Suite, including staff training, because it's a really important component of being able to take advantage of G Suite, and then we'll close out with some question and answer. If you have any questions about G Suite and how you can make it work, I'm happy to answer those more bespoke questions from there. So let's start off with kind of the fundamental question of what is G Suite. G Suite is comprised of about 50 or so products that Google provides for the most part, free of cost to consumers in some way, shape, or form. You can think about G Suite, Gmail and Google Calendar and Google Drive and so on and so forth as being pieces that any old consumer can use. But there's a clear defining line between what G Suite is and what Google consumer products are. And it really comes down to this real fundamental level that G Suite becomes an infrastructure for any business. And I don't just mean infrastructure on a light level, like, oh, you could do these things with it because it can handle all of these different parts. It really becomes the backbone of a business when you really think about it. So ICT, which is for Information and Communications Technology, most people know this as IT or Information Technology. Today, the term is ICT. And so what G Suite is from what I have found, the most streamlined small business ICT infrastructure available on the market today. And there is nothing that has convinced me that there's any better infrastructure in place, including Microsoft's own Office 365, which is a good challenger. I'm not saying that it's not, especially with their new adoption of a couple of other tools that now help to match up what G Suite does to what the Microsoft ecosystem does. So there's a really good argument for Office 365, and I'm willing to entertain your questions related to that. But really, G Suite is this powerful tool that brings together under one umbrella all of these functions. And so the benefits are that you as a small business owner own the data. Okay, so on the Google consumer side, if you have a Gmail account, like if say ray@gmail.com, that is data that is, quote unquote owned by you, the consumer, but in reality, you have Google looking at that data for being able to source content about you, what they call user signals. They want to learn about you. So they're scanning your email and looking to show advertising to you and using that as a way to help you in other places. For example, it might say to you, you know what? You have an event coming up, and so you got an email with an invitation for that event. Let's go ahead and add that to your Google Calendar. And because of that, we're now going to look at how advertisers can use that data to show you ads about what is going to help you in the lead up to that event. So if you typed in a specific product name or something else like that, it's going to show you ads in the Google Publishing Network, that is the Google Ads Network, that could potentially help advertisers show you as a consumer that information. That's beneficial to everybody, but that is still not, in essence, your data, okay, anymore, because that is an abstraction. They've taken some level of data to be able to provide you greater services. Now, as a consumer, I happen to be fine with that. I put in some guardrails so that my data is more secure than other people, but that's on the Google consumer side, and that's why Google gives it away to people for free, because they're analyzing that data and using it for other purposes. On the G Suite side, you have a clear agreement with Google. You're a part of what's called Google Cloud. Google Cloud is Google's hosting services. And in essence, what G Suite is doing is they are hosting a suite of software, all of these tools, in a silo that is all your own. Okay? So from that perspective, G Suite is not really a part of Gmail or Google Calendar or any of those other things. They are an island unto themselves, even though they have these tight integrations to be able to work across those systems just like anything else. So for example, I've shared my Google Calendar with my personal Google Calendar so I can see those two pieces together, because Google knows how to translate those two pieces together, except the calendar information in my business account is my information and mine alone. It's my business's data. That means that Google is not scanning it for advertising to me. Google is not using that data for being able to share with advertisers for any purposes, other than what I specifically allow them to do, and only gives that data access to that data to people for purposes of being able to transact different types of functions that extends it beyond the Google cloud space. So this is your data. You can pack it up anytime and move it off the system, and you own it 100%. And that is a clear difference. The other side is that you have control over all of the users within G Suite. And so if, like with any business, you're going to have some amount of churn. You're going to have employees that come and go. You're going to have employees that are terminated, employees that quit, employees that unfortunately pass away. I had that happen once upon a time a few years ago, where an employee of mine passed away, and this is one of those cases where G Suite just shined. In a time of mourning and difficulty, I was able to go into the G Suite administrative panel, into the admin panel, and say, okay, everything related to this employee now gets moved over to this person, and within 2 minutes, Google starts the process of moving all of the stuff that this person was working on to other people, so that we didn't have a hiccup in services for the projects that were running for that person. And so because of that, you're able to really control the ICT infrastructure for the business. I really call it infrastructure as a service, because with this one login, you're capable of communicating across the whole ecosystem of your business in almost every capacity. The other part is Google allows you to be able to log into other services through something I'll show you in a little while. And by being able to log into those other services with G Suite's login, your users, that is your employees and staff and people that you have G Suite accounts underneath your system, you can turn on and off their access to those tools from within G Suite. So it doesn't just mean that you control the apps within your borders. It means that all of the apps that allow for Google login, which is many applications now that are out there, now you get the ability to control that access beyond your borders. And this increases cybersecurity resilience. It increases efficacy of the business for continuity. So say there's a location that you have, you have multiple retail locations, and one of your business's locations has a storm and it knocks out that location. Well, no data is lost because all of that data lives in the cloud. You're capable of taking that staff's access and immediately giving access to it to other people to be able to then continue the business services, the business continuity. There's so many reasons for being able to use a cloud service like this that really allows for that type of streamlined but cloud-based infrastructure. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to walk you through some of the things that are really out there in the Google space. And so I'm going to take you over to really how to get yourself set up within G Suite, and then walk you through the various products. So let's just talk about accessing G Suite. And so I think I jumped ahead of myself just a little bit here, but first and foremost, to access G Suite, you just go ahead and go to G Suite, the letter G, suite, suite.google.com. And that will take you to your ability to click the sign in button and be taken to the G Suite environment. And so it's as simple as that, right? If you want to go to the admin panel, you're actually going to go to google.com/A for admin, google.com/A for admin, and that will take you into the admin panel once you have an account. But of course, you have to have an account and be set up within Google first. So let me take you over there and show you a little bit about how all of this works. So first and foremost, we want to really consider the different types of Google plans. So Google comes in 3 different flavors. And so if we go to gsuite.google.com, you'll be taken here to the Google Cloud G Suite space. And this really has all the information you need about G Suite generally. So if we, and at the end of this, I got a little bit of a surprise for those of you who watch this. As Google Small Business Advisor for Productivity, I have a little discount for folks who can access that. So you can share that, of course, with your other friends and family who are starting businesses, but you have to email me to get the code. So I'll explain it when we get to there. But anyway, so this is the pricing currently as of 2019 for G Suite. So we have 3 different plans that G Suite provides, and they start off with Basic. And Basic, in essence, is what used to be Gmail for Business. And so here on in what used to be the Gmail for Business page, what you get for $6 per month is, in essence, email at yourbusinessname.com, and the ability to then have also cloud storage and file sharing, video conferencing, and some other pieces. But it's, in essence, the entry-level plan for G Suite. Okay, so Google decided to kind of got rid of the Gmail for Business plan and just bundled it into G Suite and gave everybody a lower storage space focused G Suite. So just for the new business, this is kind of the product to get started with. So that's $6 per user per month. And as I said, you get Gmail, email, you get shared calendars, you get these integration tools, which I'll talk about a little bit while, and you get 30 gigabytes of cloud storage. And so you get access to that storage. Again, this is per user. So if you have 3 users, you have 90 gigabytes of storage that, each user has 30 gigabytes. And so that's kind of the lowest tier of it, the G Suite Basic. Then we go up to G Suite Business, and this is by far the plan that most people choose. And so this gives you virtually all of the tools that Google has to offer within G Suite. And I'm going to go through each of these tools specifically. But in essence, you have quote unquote unlimited cloud storage for when you have more than 5 users, but under 5 users, then you have a terabyte per user in terms of cloud storage, and you basically get all of the primary products for Google, and then a limited set of security and administrative controls because most small businesses don't actually need enterprise level stuff. Okay, then we get to the enterprise level, and there's really only one reason why a small business would go to enterprise, and it's for this. If you want to record video meetings, the enterprise level, so the business level, you have here this tool called Google Hangouts Meet or Google Meet, and it allows you to do video conferencing, so you can do video meetings. It does not allow you to record those. And so the only reason that I can see a small business thinking about leveling up is that this video conferencing gives you then going from 50 to 100 users inside or outside the organization, and up to 10,000 live stream to say YouTube, so that you can have a lot of people watching, viewing, but not actually interacting and engaging in the meeting. You can also record, and so that is actually very, very useful. So this gets very expensive at $25 per user per month if you have, all of a sudden 10 users, 20 users, 30 users who are inside the enterprise account. So not really affordable for you to be able to do that. Now, just like a quick tip here, what you could do is create a separate G Suite account that's enterprise for $25 a month, and just have that running on its own domain, right? So you get another domain, you run $25 a month, you've got the access to be able to do this video conferencing, recording, and everything else, and then everybody else stays on the business level plan. You create another, your primary domain then is the $12 per month, and everybody else stays there. So there are ways in which you can have multiple G Suite accounts and make that happen. Again, that is an outlier type of situation. So if you really feel like you need this function, talk to me, because I can then say, well, you know what, maybe you should use this other product that can do this service without you having to pay even $25 a month for all of this other stuff that G Suite Enterprise does that you may not need. So like I said, 95 to 97% of you should just go with the business plan, because that's going to be able to support all of the various needs that you have. Okay.
Right.
Yes.
There was a question kind of along those same lines. Can you have a business account for the admin/owner and basic accounts for employees?
No, they all have to be equal. So that's a really great question, and you beat me to the punch. So yes, that's the reason why I said you'd have to have that separate account for the $25 a month. Say if you wanted G Suite Enterprise, it has to be each of those domains. It's per domain, by the way. So like if you have a G Suite account, you can have multiple domains, and those could run across different plans. So you could have mybusinessname.com, and that be all G Suite basic users at the $6 per month. But then if you go to G Suite Business, then you would have $12 per month, and that's the yourbusinessname2.com, and those could all be business users. So you could have different domains on different plans, but no domain individually can have a mixture of some basic and some business and some enterprise. They all need to be in the same domain. Okay. So for example, W3 Consulting has several domains, but we can only have one type of account for each of the domains. So everybody has to have the same domain for that particular domain. So, because people have multiple businesses, G Suite allows you to be able to run those multiple businesses within the same G Suite administrative console, but they all have to actually be equal across it. So, as I said, G Suite holds all of these different products, and what I wanted to do is show you all of the various ways in which you can create it. But first, I just wanted to walk you through really the process for being able to set up a G Suite account, and then I'm going to cover all of the tools within it. So pricing aside, we have the ability to get started with G Suite. So however you get to this point, you'll get to get started. You can click get started here or there, however you get started with the G Suite account, and it takes you into the system, and then it starts to ask you some questions for you to be able to start a free 2-week trial. And that you answer a couple of questions. It tells you how many employees you have, and it has you connect to a specific domain. And like I said, each business within the G Suite administrative console is structured. Each organization is structured based on a domain or a series of domains. Now, you only want to use as few domains as you need. So if you have one domain, that is it. That's all you want to use within the G Suite space, because that you pay per domain that you're using. Okay, so you're going to have that particular domain, and then it's going to ask you to connect yourself to that domain, and that's where you might need to call your domain registrar or your web host or your web developer or whoever helps you with those kinds of technology pieces to help connect Google to your help you connect Google's G Suite account to your domain and system. So if you're a new business and you have none of those things, you can register a Google domain and have a business domain now, or if you already have a domain with a domain registrar, you can go ahead and do that. And then you don't have to replace things. And I know that many times people get kind of confused here, but if you already have a website, you don't have to use G Suite for your website, and I'll show you how you can do that, but you don't have to. So you could just basically seamlessly continue to use the pieces that you currently have for the business as you were. And then G Suite just takes over the pieces you want it to take over, okay? So you don't have to do it for everything. I recommend that it take over as many things as possible, because if you're paying for an email hosting tool and web hosting and domain and a tool for managing your inventory and you're paying for Microsoft Office 365, and all of those things add up, and I bet you that they don't add up to more than $12 per user per month. So you end up saving a lot more money by aggregating as many of the tools and functions that G Suite has for you. So anyway, G Suite will ask you these questions. It'll have you go ahead and verify your domain so it knows that you have control over that domain, and then it'll do some provisioning, and then it will have you go through the checkout form after it gets to the end. So you'll get to the end, it'll ask you for some payment information, and that way when the 14-day trial ends, you'll be able to then go ahead and start paying the monthly plan. And so G Suite always charges on a monthly basis, so you pay per month, and you're good to go. And so it's a really seamless process to start if you're not doing anything with existing stuff, right? You're not migrating anything. If you are migrating stuff, I'll talk about how to do that when we get to some other resources within the G Suite environment, okay? So starting the G Suite account, really simple. If you run into any problems, feel free to shoot me an email after you have gone to the G Suite help section support page and try to resolve those things on your own through the help of the center. Okay. So let's go through the different things. Now, Google starts to categorize these things as connection, creation, access, and control as being kind of the 4 areas that they help to manage for small businesses. And so what I wanted to do is just go through some of the primary products that they call the core services that they provide, and then I'll talk about some of the ancillary services that are in there, as well as then the marketplace. So there are 3 kind of areas that G Suite handles or groups together their services. These are the core ones that we're going through now. So first and foremost is not this. So hold on a minute. Let's hop out of here and let's see why this got out of order for me. Oh, we'll just put this here. There we go. And so first and foremost, G Suite gives us a series of communication tools. One of those is Hangouts Chat, and we're still a little bit out of order, but I'll just go with it. So Hangouts Chat is actually akin to what would be considered Slack, if people know what Slack is, or Microsoft Teams. It is a messaging platform for your staff. And so what I really like about Hangouts Chat is that there are ways for us to be able to integrate with other G Suite tools. So if I want to be able to set up a meeting, I just have to go into Hangouts Chat inside the team that I'm working with, and I can say at the @ meet, let's find a time to meet. And then what Hangouts Chat will do is it will then facilitate the process for being able to help create a meeting. And so we have these bots, basically these messaging bots that are available within the G Suite tool that give us all of these functions that go way beyond just being able to message back and forth with the team. So if you knew what Hangouts was in the Gmail interface, this is basically Hangouts on steroids, because it gives you all of these additional functions for being able to connect and integrate with your G Suite data within a messaging platform. Okay, so it just gives you all of those tools in one specific place, and you can create different conversations. So you can have a marketing conversation, you can have a sales conversation, you can have a human resources conversation, and give specific people access to those rooms or conversations, and then use different automations to be able to get yourself set up in those spaces, and then you can be notified for specific things so that you can get those things done. So Hangouts Chat is just a really powerful tool that I think is underutilized by a lot of businesses who don't even know it exists in the platform, because maybe they created the G Suite account and they just wanted email and calendar, and they just really didn't think about it being there. Okay, so then we take Hangouts to kind of the next level, which is Meet, which I mentioned just before. But Hangouts Meet is a video meeting technology so that you're able to have video and audio calls, because people can dial in by phone, or they can dial in by mobile device or by computer, and all they need is internet access and a browser. So there's no additional software to be installed. It happens inside the browser, and you can have in the G Suite business account, you can have up to 50 people in those accounts in any one particular meeting at a time. And those people don't need to have Google accounts or anything like that. All they need to do is to have the link you'll send them through the calendar invite. They click on it, they join the room. You can screen share, and you can mute people, you can see everybody on screen, you can do all kinds of fun stuff within that space, and it's all face-to-face, and there's no travel. So where you might have had to before meet clients on location and travel to those meetings, if it's just for a face-to-face meeting, then you can do that now with Hangouts Meet. And there are no additional costs. So G Suite provides this to you as a service, and you can have as many meetings as you want with Hangouts Meet using the tool, and it's all built into the monthly fee. So there's no additional cost to be able to do that. Really powerful stuff. Okay, then we come to the more traditional tools that I've already talked about. So you have Google Drive, which gives you really 5 other products inside of Google Drive. So we have Google Drive, and Google Drive actually encompasses not just storage. So people tend to think of Google Drive as having storage. You put files in it, and it can hold files in the cloud. But Google Drive actually also gives you a tool called Google Backup and Sync. And what Google Backup and Sync does is it gives you the ability to actually back up specific devices from the device to Google Cloud. So it gives you a Google Drive container for that device, and it'll actually be the device's name. So for example, I have several MacBooks and several PCs and several phones, and all of them are listed separately within the Google Drive interface as backups. So I can open up a backup, and I can see the last time it backed up and all the data inside those backups. So it gives you a backup utility by downloading the software. But a lot of people don't know the software exists. So if you click on the gear icon in Google Drive, you will then see the drop down to download Backup and Sync. And that, again, like I said, it takes the files that you tell it to. You tell it which files you want it to back up, and it will then suck those files into Google Drive, into its own directory as a backup. Okay, and then it'll just regularly see what's changed, what's new, and on a regular basis, it'll go ahead and do those backups. Then Then there's the sync part of Google Backup and Sync, which allows you to be able to synchronize specific files. Just like with Dropbox, you can actually have specific files on many computers, right? You can have it on 4 computers, 5 computers, 20 computers. And what Google Drive Backup and Sync will do, what that software will do, is the sync part. You can say, I want you to synchronize. Whenever I make a change on this computer, I want you to download it and I want you to save it to this computer, and I want you to synchronize all of those changes across all of my other computers. So if you're at a home computer and a work computer, you can do that. Laptop and a work computer, you can do that too, across your mobile devices, of course, as well. So it gives you this very clear structure of being able to back up and synchronize, just like with Dropbox or Box or SugarSync or one of those other tools. So again, it just removes one other cost from the business by having this function built right into the Google Drive interface. Then, of course, it gives you Google Docs. So you have a word processing tool. You have Google Sheets, which is the Microsoft Excel alternative. So this is the spreadsheet workbook tool. You have the Google Forms, which is an ability to create questionnaires that you can embed on websites, and forms, quizzes, and those kinds of things. So you can collect all kinds of surveys and other data from Google Forms. And Google Forms integrates with Google Sheets. So you can collect data, and then that data can be paid into Google Sheets, which then can be used in other ways. So you can actually tie these pieces within G Suite together because they're all within the same installation. You then have Google Slides, which is for presentations. Actually, what I'm showing you throughout today, the presentation portion of that, those are all in Google Slides inside of my G Suite account. And so all of my presentations are inside of Google Slides within my Google Drive G Suite account, and I'm able to share those with people in my organization and people outside of it so that they're able to see that data as well, and I can collaborate in real time with all of those documents. Okay. Google Drive also then holds a product called Google Drawing and Google Keep. And so I don't know if I said 5, but I guess that's 6. But the other 2 applications are Google Keep, which is a note-taking application that allows you to be able to do some pretty slick things. Like if you capture an image into Google Keep, that data is actually available for you to pull into Google Slides very easily. And then I said Google Keep and Google Forms. What was the other tool that I just said? I just lost my my train of thought. Google Drive contains Google Docs, Google Forms, Google Slides, Google Sheets, Google Forms, and Keep. Oh, yeah. Okay. So I got them all. What's that?
Was it Drawing?
Drawing, yes. Thank you, Tracy. So Google Drawing allows you to actually create vector graphics. And so it allows you to be able to create shapes and to import those graphics and shapes into other Google Docs files. So thank you. Yes. So Google Drawing, which is often forgot, which is why I just forgot it, a tool within the Google Drive kind of suite of tools. So all of those are inside of Google Drive. Remember that you don't actually have to save only Google type documents, that is Google Docs, Sheets, Slides, and otherwise, into Google Drive. You can throw any type of document into Google Drive, and you can actually set Google Drive not to convert them to Google Docs. Now, the difference between those two is that if you convert it to Google Drive formats, that is Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Slides, when it makes the conversion, it does not actually take up space within your Google Drive allotment. So the space is 0 when it's converted to Google Docs. And if you keep it in its native format, then Google Drive counts that data against your allotment of 30 gigabytes on the basic plan, 1 terabyte on the plans under 5 users for Google Business, and then unlimited for over 5 users once you get to that level, Google Business and Enterprise. Okay, so that's Google Drive. It's far more complex than most people think on its surface, but it does so many really wonderful things for you, all told. Okay, that takes us then to your website. So Google has you covered when it comes to website. If you don't have a website, in essence, Google Sites, the Sites tool within G Suite, allows you to create a website. And the really cool thing is that this is all under your domain. So it's www.yourbusiness.com, and you can go ahead and create this. And most powerfully is that you can create as many Google Sites as you want. So for example, in my business, we have several sites that are completely private. Only people inside of my team can see those sites, and we use them for projects. If we're trying to really map out a really big project and we have a whole bunch of moving parts, we put it all into Google Sites, because Google Sites allows us to be able to import Google documents and PDFs and images and Google Slides and all kinds of other things into this one site. We can import calendars and all kinds of other fun things into just one site, and it completely requires no programming or design experience. It helps guide you through all of those pieces without having to need to know how to do that. So if you have content already created in your system, you can immediately pull those in to the system and then quickly update and publish a website without any need for other things. And if you need more domains for your Google Sites, there is Google Domains built into the Google Sites platform, so you can register domains within it so that you can do that. And so you have some more control on all of the things inside of the G Suite account from the Google Domains perspective. And so you can have public sites, private sites, and you can even have public sites where you give your teams access to be able to update the sites, and you can even give access to people outside of your organization to be able to access those sites. So you can create something like a wiki where you can approve particular clients or vendors or other people to update the Google Sites so that that information stays up to date, and you can have this very thriving, high quality website that's built by you and others. And it's automatically desktop and mobile optimized, so you don't have to worry about any of those pieces. And so so it's not the most flexible tool, right? Because if you have something like WordPress or another CMS, a content management system, you're gonna have a lot more control over those pieces. But if you just need a basic website that's running what you need to run to be able to put up a brochure site and maybe add and embed some components from other tools to add social media and maybe some other social technologies, Google Sites will really do the job. Then comes my favorite product within the G Suite space. And so this is one that's only available once you're at the G Suite business level. So this is not available to G Suite business users, basic users. And if you are on one of the old free plans, which are no longer in existence, you won't have access to this either. But inside of G Suite business or higher, you get something called App Maker. And what App Maker allows you to do is it allows you to be able to create custom applications that tie into G Suite data. So if we think about, maybe some of you remember this, but once upon a time there was Microsoft Access, which still exists. Access is still a product that's out there in the Microsoft world. You were able to create some low-level, easy interfaces that allowed you to be able to punch some information here, add buttons, and it would tie data back from maybe an Excel spreadsheet. And at that time, I think it was those were Fox databases. So the Access was able to create its own database and keep customer information. You could create like a CRM and other types of tools and connect through VB scripting to other and OLDB connecting to other tools within the Microsoft space. Well, G Suite has done that on a whole new level. So in essence, within a matter of weeks, any business that has G Suite can create their own custom application for their business, because G Suite allows you through App Maker to design an application with a front end. It's like drag and drop. You say, okay, I want this application to look this way, and when someone does X and Y, I want it to operate in that way. And so it has all the interface for user interface, but also then the functions underlying it to be able to have you create these custom applications that are connected to all of your current data. So you can say, okay, well, we need a CRM. You can build a CRM using App Maker because you have all of the functions now. You have your email, you have your calendar, you have your contact, Google Contacts is in here, and you can extend on that with what's called Apps Script. So Apps Script is basically JavaScript within the Google Cloud system, and it's a very easy to learn programming language, and you don't have to learn it if you don't want to, but it does give you the ability to kind of level up. If for some reason you can't do it with the drag and drop interface, App Maker allows you to be able to extend that tool to be able to do some really higher level customizations to the system. So you can find someone who knows AppScript or JavaScript, because really if they know JavaScript, AppScript is really easy to translate, and then they can build on top of that to do all kinds of things. So what would normally take a business, if they were really trying to create a custom piece of software for their business, say you are trying to build an ERP for your business and you're a small business and enterprise resource planning software is, very expensive stuff that, IBM and these other large companies create. Well, guess what? You could do all of that with AppMaker. All you got to do is sit down with your team, brainstorm how you're going to assemble that, and voila, you've got your app made. And so think about all of the things where you're paying for other tools and resources to maintain those tools. That's all now done in AppMaker, connected to the data you're using within G Suite, so you're not giving up any security because you can do all of this in this low code development level environment. And so you can test them, you can tweak them over time, and your entire team has access so that you can say, hey, if we need to change this, this is how we can do it. So very, very powerful stuff. Okay, very interesting. Google had Google Plus, and Google Plus still exists within the G Suite environment, although it's no longer available on the consumer side. Google has added this new product, fairly new product, called Google Currents, which is kind of a social network inside of G Suite. And so I have found it to be useful in being able to use this for employee engagement, and being able to have how are we going to plan the holiday party this year? Well, we can do that in Google Currents, which doesn't make so much sense to put it into Hangouts Meet, because in Hangouts Chat, that is, Hangouts Chat is more for work stuff, and I like being able to do, if we're doing volunteering as a company, that kind of goes into Currents. If we're doing holiday party planning, that goes into Currents. So it has this division between what's the stuff we want to discuss as a business all told that's fun and interesting and more on non-client project side stuff. Google Currents is the place for that, whereas with Hangouts Chat is this specific client, this specific project is what we're working on, and that kind of thing. Then we come over to the administrative. This is the security and control sections of G Suite. And this is really where G Suite shines, because it makes it super, super simple for you to be able to understand what's happening with your users, creating user groups. So you can have the marketing team, you can have the legal team, you can have human resources, and then segment all of your applications, your data, and access to those data to specific groups or individuals within the company. And so G Suite gives you all of that structure in a very easy to use interface, and it gives you the security on top of that. So you can do multi-factor authentication if you want to be able to secure your device with a phone or other types of tablets or physical hard keys, those kinds of things. And you can turn on and off users, so you can deactivate a user. So say you have seasonal employees who, they come and work for you during the holiday seasons or come work for you during the summer. You can turn off their access when they're not using it, but you're not deleting their account, and you can turn it back on again when they come back to you. So you can actually turn these things on and off, and so on and so forth. But the admin console is very, very powerful and very easy to do. There's also actually a mobile application. So if you're up on the business level or on enterprise, you get access to this endpoint management within the Google Admin Console app. And so you can manage all of this stuff very easily from your mobile device as well. So very cool. I love it. Then there's Google Vault. Google Vault is really for being able to set timeframes when data will go ahead and delete itself or be kept for purposes of both data retention, say that you want to keep things for tax purposes or financial purposes, but it'll purge other data. Say it'll delete Gmail, email after 90 days, 180 days, or whatever it is for your data retention policy, but also keep certain emails for e-discovery. So if some email is tagged because of a specific keyword, it will be kept just in case there's a lawsuit for that. The company will have that data accessible to be able to turn over to proper counsel to look at it and make sure that it's determined as the right data to turn over and that kind of thing. So Vault gives you that level of structure. So if you are worried about litigation, or if you have requirements in your jurisdiction, so certainly in Virginia, you have data retention policies that you have to have in place, right, for tax purposes, for for different types of regulated industries like insurance and legal and accounting and so on and so forth, but also even in retail where you might have to keep certain amount of records for certain things. You can have all of that kind of managed. Plus, if you want to keep cap on how much data each user is amassing, you can also create those data retention policies to kind of purge that stuff on a regular basis. Okay, next up, I've already talked about endpoint management, but this is more security stuff where you can basically decide which devices have access to the G Suite environment. And this runs across all of the major platforms. So Android, iOS, Windows, Chrome OS, Mac OS, and Linux. And what you can say then is employee X lost their phone, or their phone was stolen, or whatever it is, you can immediately turn off that device, and that device will then purge. As soon as if someone, the person who stole it, turns on the phone, it's immediately going to connect, and as soon as it connects to the internet, it'll get the ping from G Suite to go ahead and purge the system of that data. And so very easy to be able to control some of those access issues that come up when people have mobile devices out there in the wild. And so I want to hop over here to this because I needed to be inside of my account to show you this. So this is the inside the Google admin console. There is the core services. So I just talked about most of the core services, not all of them, but most of the core services that are in the Google G Suite environment. Now, these are the additional services. These are the ancillary services that G Suite provides to you. And at current, I think there are 52 of them, 50 something of them. Let's see, there are 52 of them. Yeah. So if we look down here, you can see here that just like with Google Sites, so you have your G Suite site, your website. If you wanted to launch a blog under your domain, you have Blogger because Google owns Blogger. And so you can immediately create a blog or many blogs for your business just by turning on. So it's on currently for the service, but say I could turn it off if I wanted to, just click off. And it's that simple. Then you turn on or off the Blogger tool, and then anyone in your company can start a blog. And so as your company grows, maybe you want each of your employees to have their own blog and to market the business in some capacity. Maybe you only want certain people to have access to the blog, and so you can change the access here so that only certain people can have it. You turn it off for everyone. You go in and you individually turn on the access for specific groups or specific users of the system. Okay. You can also go in here and turn on ad managers. So if you want to run Google ads, you can turn these functions on. Google alerts. If you think of pretty much all of the Google products that are on the consumer side, they're available here within usually the additional Google services. So you see that you have Google Cloud Print, Google Chrome Sync, Google Books, Google Data Studio, which I talked about. I don't think I talked about it here, but you can take a bunch of data from different sources and throw them all into one place. You have Google Domains for purchasing domains, Google Fi, which is a phone service that's provided by Google. But what's really awesome is in here is Google Voice. So Google Voice is a telecommunications platform that allows you to be able to actually set up a voice assistant. So when people call into your business, you can actually have Google Voice answer the call and direct people to different extensions or to a voicemail box that can either answer questions for people, where the voicemail message is a recorded message that answers people, like hours of operation and or your location, directions from a particular location, or just basic information. So you can have people dial in and then access that information, and it can facilitate, like I said, call assist. So it can say, to reach Ray, press, extension XYZ. And so they'll punch in that number and then be dialed over to me, to my mobile device or my office phone by that. A lot of people don't know that's built into here. So again, if you are a fairly remote company or if you're a new business, why set up office phones if you can have Google Voice just direct to your mobile devices, and then everybody gets a mobile phone plan or already has one, and you give maybe a stipend to your employees for using their mobile phones for the business. But now Google Voice can say between 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, for this business, we will dial those people, and then after hours, it'll just go to voicemail. And so then it'll go to voicemail, and those users will now get a voicemail message delivered to them for those calls that happen outside of business hours. So very, very powerful tool that is highly underutilized in this. And again, it could save you a lot of money. If you transfer over your primary number to Google Voice, then it becomes your business telephone system, and you don't need another phone service to really manage that. You do need a phone service because Google Voice is not a phone service. It's only going to transfer or take voicemail. But for outbound calls, you still need your mobile phone or a landline to be able to do that. But it's pretty amazing to be able to do that. So many other tools within here. So again, if you need another tool inside of the Google system, you know there's another Google tool you want out there, like Google Classroom. You're like, oh, you know what? I want to use Google Classroom. Come to the additional services, and it'll likely be in there. Now, Google doesn't do everything. I wish they did, but they don't. And so then you have the G Suite Marketplace. And so this space, if you just type in G Suite Marketplace, you'll be taken to this page. When you're logged into G Suite, in the admin console, you'll see core services, additional services, and then G Suite Marketplace. You click on Marketplace, and you'll be taken here. And this is actually for every tool that connects via G Suite, meaning that you can have the service outside of it, outside of G Suite, but when your users log in, they're logging in through the Google account, which means that you have control over their access to those systems. Okay, which again, this is all about being able to control your business data and providing a greater level of security. And so when you go outside of your borders of G Suite, now you have all of these tools to be able to find it. And I mean, there's so many tools in here. It's really it's a tech geek like me, it is a paradise to get lost in for hours and hours looking at the various tools that connect across the board within G Suite. Okay. So a lot of people always ask me, oh, you know what? I tried to use G Suite and for some reason it wasn't working. This is the G Suite dashboard, and you actually get to it by going to google.com/apps status. So google.com/apps status. And this is just a really quick way to see whether or not there is a problem with the current G Suite interface. So you can see here that on 11/11, there was a slight hiccup for about 45 minutes to an hour on Google Calendar. And so if you're having trouble connecting, this is a good way to just make sure, is it my internet or is it Google? Okay, and the impacts are usually localized, so they're not everybody all at once. But if there is some kind of DDoS attack or something like that across a particular data center, it will tell you that here, and that way you can know whether or not it's you or whether it's actually Google that's having a problem. And they have a pretty high uptime, and very rarely have I had problems with the system. But that's really where you go to find that. Okay, so I want to just quickly transition to learning G Suite, and then I'll tell you about my little offer for those of you who are interested in G Suite, and then we'll go from there. So learning G Suite is actually as simple as G Suite is. There's a lot to it, but there are actually two main places I send everybody to it, and then after that, most people then just hire me to do training. But the general rule is that if you want to learn about G Suite, there is the Learning Center, and then there is the Google G Suite Apps Show. And these are the URLs to both of them. So if you go to gsuite.google.com/learning-center and then gsuite.google.com/apps-show, you will be taken to two different places. One is actually the Google Support Center, where this Learning Center is, and then the G Suite App Show on which is called the Suite Life, SUITE, the Suite Life, there on YouTube. And so I just want to take you over to those so you can see that, and then we can go from there. So let's hop back over here very quickly. And so the first one is the Learning Center. And as I talked about before, this is playing for me. Let's stop that. So the first one, like I said, if you go to that Learning Center link, gsuite.google.com/Learning Center, you'll be taken here. And so if you are trying to get started with G Suite, including your staff, I would highly recommend that they actually walk through this G Suite checklist for new users. Okay, so it walks you through all of the process. It's a 5-week process for you to be able to just get started to using G Suite. And once I found that staff goes through this process. Each section goes through what people need to do, and it walks you through. You check off the various things as you make your way through it. You signed into the account, you check things off, and it gives you all of the instructions along the way, and they're very detailed, and it's really, really helpful. And so once you get done with all of this, most users don't really need much more because they're off to the races, okay? But if you're trying to learn about a specific product, they also have a learn by product category, and they also have a switching from Microsoft category, okay? So learn by product, learn by job tasks. So say you drop down here and you say, oh, particular role or industry or productivity ideas. There's so many resources inside this one seemingly demure page, but it has a lot of information in there. If you run into a support problem, you want to, of course, contact your G Suite administrator. That's typically going to be you. But then if you are the G Suite administrator, then from within the admin console, you will see the Help Center contact information, and you'll be able to contact G Suite support for assistance. Okay. If there are any announcements about G Suite, they're all going to show up here under the announcement section. I just check it out on occasion because new things are added to the Learning Center on a regular basis. Then there is the G Suite account within YouTube. So I took you to the App Show link, but you could just type in youtube.com/G Suite and you'll be taken to the same place. But here, if you click on videos, you will see just dozens and dozens of videos about how to use different parts of G Suite. So this is a good place to start where you're like, you know what, I want to be able to turn my Google Sheets document into an app, and voila, here goes how to create a basic app using Google App Maker, and that's using Google Sheets to make a Google app. Or I want to see some examples or whatever it is. A lot of those things are right here in the videos, and it's talking about the new cal.new and the new keep.new links and docs.new and website.new. All of these are available to watch, and you can learn a lot about G Suite just from watching these short videos. Okay, so very quickly, and then I'm going to close this out. And so if you are getting started with G Suite, the first thing you'll need to do is, of course, decide whether or not you're going to use the basic business or enterprise levels. As for most people, they're going to be on the business level. You're going to decide how many licenses you need, and that will help you identify what the budget's going to be. So if there are 3 of you and you're going to need the business license, that's 12 times 3, so it's going to be 36 a month. And then you want to create an implementation, training, and some kind of ongoing maintenance plan. And so many times this is difficult for small business owners because they think, well, we'll just sign up for an account and then start using it. You really need to create some space and time for implementation, some time for training, and some time for admin. The implementation depends upon how many pieces across the web and also locally you have data, because all of those need to be either migrated into G Suite if you plan to use a Google product within G Suite to handle it, or if you're going to continue to use that external tool, how is that going to connect to your G Suite account or not? Are you going to continue to run them independently? All that needs to be thought about. And once you've thought about, okay, well, our website's going to stay the same, we're not going to really change that, but we do want to allow Google Forms on the website. So now we're going to create a Google form to connect to the website where we had another form tool that was on our website, so that the Google Form stuff comes into our Google Sheets, which then gets connected to our CRM or something else. You want to think through those pieces. How is G Suite going to integrate into the business and the existing infrastructure, and how is it not? Then there's a training period, and it usually takes 5 or 6 weeks to get most people trained, including yourself, in terms of how to use the Google Admin Console and how to get your staff associated with using all of the pieces of G Suite. Because if they've been using something else, then now they need to learn how to use those pieces on the other side. And then how are you going to maintain it? How often are you going to log into the admin console and update things? When someone's terminated, how quickly are you going to go in there and terminate someone in the system as a user and transfer their data to somebody else? When are you going to check on the numbers to make sure that who's logging in from where? Are there security incidents? That needs to be in the calendar as well. Say once a month you need to check on security. Once every couple of weeks you need to look at data usage, data retention, that kind of thing, and add new users, take new users as people are hired and leave the company. Okay, so this is my offer for you as the Google Small Business Advisor. They give me this ability to give away a discount, and so what I understand is that if you go to this link, which does not have that first W, so this is just w3cinc.com/G Suite, it will take you to the free trial page, and which is a 2-week free trial. And when it gets to the payment thing, you need to email support@w3cinc.com. And when you email that support email, just in the subject line, say G Suite promo code, and we get a certain allotment of these from Google. And so I don't have an unlimited store, and until you actually use it, I don't get any more. So I can only continue to keep benefiting you all by making sure that if you do request a promo code, actually use it. But it's supposed to be 20% off of all of the users for the first year. So it's a pretty good deal. And so as long as G Suite continues to keep giving it to me, I will keep giving it to you. And that way you can go ahead and access the 20% off the first year. So I hope that helps some folks get started with G Suite for small business. And so with that, I'm happy to answer questions, Tracy, and then we can close out.
Perfect, Ray. We have quite a few questions, so I actually am going to close out, and so that for those of you who do need to move on with your day, you can go ahead and do that. Thank you all for participating today. Today's webinar was recorded, and it'll be posted on the Virginia SBDC website under live webinars and recordings. Tomorrow you'll be receiving a follow-up email, and there'll be an evaluation link in that email. Please help us to continue to improve the training by taking the time to complete the evaluation. I also posted that evaluation in the chat window just now, so if you want to fill it out now, that's great. Our next webinar is December 12th, and it's Digital Marketing for 2020, and this one is an annual webinar that we do looking forward to the next year and what will be hot and what won't be. So we hope to see you all then. So I'm going to go ahead and through the questions. I'll start with, is the discount only for new customers?
Yes. And my understanding is that for those who are in U.S. and Canada, I'm not sure about those beyond our borders at the present moment, but I believe there have been some people who have been able to use it out of U.S. and Canada. So yeah, it's just a matter of trying and letting me know if it works, and then I can touch base with the G Suite team and they can figure out whether or not they'll allow it, or they'll give me another code or something like that. But just email me if that's the case, and I can kind of figure it out. But yeah, it's within. New account. It has to be a new account, and I believe it has to be in the U.S. or Canada.
Is there a time frame that we have to act within to receive the 20% discount for the first year?
I believe when you create the account, you have to put it in before the first billing cycle. So you have to put it in, like the free trial, runs for those 2 weeks. You've got to put it in before it starts billing you, so that it can trigger the discount. But then once the discount starts, if you say added, I think, again, I could be wrong, but I believe what happens is if you add like new users after that, it will discount them also. But again, if you've tried that and once you request a promo code and whatever, I can again email my G Suite contacts and see what works and what doesn't. But I'm just passing along a resource they've given me, so I'm a little bit maybe unaware of some of the things. But if you try it out, let me know, and I can always figure out the solution later.
Okay. Can Google Voice be used for VoIP numbers?
So that depends on the VoIP provider. So if they allow for a DID, then and that interfaces with Google Voice, then yes. So if you're talking about Google Voice being the primary number, that needs an LOA, a line order authorization, that transfers the number to Google Voice to be the front end. If it's Google Voice dialing within the system to you, to a VoIP number, then yes, that shouldn't be a problem at all. As long as there's a DID that Google Voice can interface with, that is, you can set the number up in Google Voice. Google Voice can call you over that VoIP number. You can answer it and then verify, which Google says, press this number to verify. If you can press the tone to verify, then Google will verify the number, and you'll be able to use that number within Google Voice. So the answer is generally yes.
I'm going to ask this, even though I'm not sure if you just answered it, because this whole thing gets a little confusing. I have a separate number from GoDaddy. Can I transfer that number to G Suite so that I don't lose the phone number?
So that's a question for GoDaddy, and my thought is generally yes, that GoDaddy will allow a transfer of a phone number away, but I think that's federal law. I'm not quite sure. But if you I know that GoDaddy allows you to be able to port your number in, but I'm guessing you have the GoDaddy SmartLine product. And so if you have the GoDaddy SmartLine product, I believe you can port your number to, I'm looking right here on GoDaddy's website now, and it says you can, if you need to change phone providers, you can port or transfer your SmartLine phone number to another provider. So the answer is yes, because Google Voice will be allowed to receive the port transfer. So it'll do you just need to do that LOA with GoDaddy, have them unlock the SmartLine number, and then start the transfer on the Google Voice side, which it'll say, you want to port a number, transfer this number, and then it'll give you the instructions for being able to tell GoDaddy how to transfer the SmartLine number over.
Can you check the ability of email account names before signing up for G Suite?
So I'm guessing the question is domain search. So if you go to the URL on your screen right now, web.w3cinc.com, that's our website for hosting and domains and everything else. You don't need to buy from us, at all, but you can, on the screen, the first field on the screen allows you to search domains. And so if you want to find out if a domain is available, just type the domain into that search field, and it will tell you whether or not that domain is available. And if the domain's available, then it's available. And then you can go to G Suite, sign up, and either register it through Google Domains directly or another domain registrar.
A couple of questions about Hangouts. Can Hangouts be used for meetings with those outside of your company?
Yes.
Is there a participant limit on Hangout meetings?
Yes. So Hangouts Meet has a. So there's, let's just call it Hangouts Chat and Hangouts Meet. If we're talking about the video conferencing tool, then that limit is 50 users. And yes, you can use it with people outside of the organization. If you are what was the next question, Tracy? Repeat the question again. Sorry.
It was about the limits. You answered the question.
Okay, yeah. So it's 50 users. If you're using Hangouts Chat, the internal chat tool, messaging tool like Slack or whatever, that's a. I'm sorry for the confusion of the names are very confusing, but Hangouts Chat is like the Slack tool. That is only for internal people, so internal team members. Hangouts Meet, let's just call it Google Meet. Meet, the video and audio conferencing tool, that is, yes, people from the outside can use it, and you're limited to 50 under the under the G Suite G Suite business plan.
Okay. There are several questions, and I'm just going to kind of combine them, but about transferring websites to Google. Can I transfer my GoDaddy to Google for my website host along with my name at business.com? Can a Wix site be transferred to the Gmail site?
Yeah, so those are all it depends answers. Sorry, but yes, you can transfer the domain. That's not a problem at all. Google Domains will be able to allow you to transfer domains. You'll just purchase the Google Domains transfer and then facilitate that with GoDaddy or Wix or whatever your domain registrar is. The site itself, whether it's a GoDaddy site where you've used the GoDaddy website builder or with Wix or Squarespace or any of those other tools, that will be much more of a manual process because you're going to have to copy and paste that content from that website over to yours. If you don't have a large website, if you have maybe 5 or 10 pages, that shouldn't be that difficult. It's going to take you a couple of days of work, or your website designer or whomever helps you out with that stuff to do. But it shouldn't be that difficult. But there's no automatic transfer of data from one website tool to G Suite. To Google G Suite's sites tool. It's a fairly manual process where you have to copy and paste that stuff. But if you have all of your images, you download all your images, you upload those to the Google site. If you have all your text, you copy those into a Google Docs document and title the pages, and then you just copy and paste those into where they belong in your new Google site. So it depends on the complexity of the site and what type of data. If you have e-commerce or if you have blog or those kinds of things, there are ways in which you can import into Blogger. So you can import into Blogger, but the e-commerce part probably means you should use another tool than Google Sites, unless your situation warrants that you think you could embed the e-commerce tool into the Google site, in which case I would say email me and I can answer the question more specifically.
Okay. Could Google Sites take the place of lead pages?
Yes.
For the app maker, how do customers access the app?
So this is for the business. So app makers, to be able to create internal applications for you, you can then create public-facing parts. Like, for example, say you want a Google form for a client to be able to fill in a new client questionnaire. You can just create a Google form, and they would fill that out, but the data in the background will then connect to your app within App Maker and do all the fun things you want it to do. Say, add them to Google Contacts, send them an email through your Gmail account, send them a calendar invite to schedule a initial consultation. It could do all those things in the background, automated, while the initial event, the triggering event, is them filling out the Google form. And of course it can tailor it, right? Because now it can say, dear so-and-so, and send that email to them because they filled out the new client questionnaire, which had their first and last name in it, and so on and so forth, their email address. And so it takes all of that data and it allows for that transition of content that's now been entered to trigger a whole bunch of things in the background that then your company can now manifest new things. So it can say, oh, you know what, when this form gets filled out, send an email to so-and-so and let them know. But in the meantime, add this to our contacts, add a follow-up in my Google Tasks so that I know to follow up with that client tomorrow and schedule a new initial consultation or whatever it might be, and so on and so forth. So it's about how you want them to first interact and engage with you. It could be by email, right? So you can give someone a specific email, and then when they send that email, now the app maker processes the content of the email and then produces other automations within the system. So it could take that email, it could post it to a Google Doc, it could take all kinds of stuff. It can basically look for content within the email and do things to it based on that. So it just depends on how you want it to manifest and to trigger.
Does the website or app maker have online sales ability, or would I need to integrate with another system?
You would need to integrate with another system. It does have the ability to embed all kinds of things. You can embed a PayPal button, you could embed Gumroad buttons, and you would be able to have an embedding of, say, a calendaring tool like Schedulista or Schedule Once Hub, those kinds of tools, and other types of e-commerce-y type functionality, but that would all be done through some external source, through some kind of API based thing. It doesn't have e-commerce built into it directly. So I would say, if you were going to have an e-commerce solution, I would put in your navigation bar shop now or buy now or something like that, and that would take people over to, or you can have shop store, and when people clicked on that link, they would take them to your site, and you would make that shop.yourbusinessname.com, and that would be outside of the Google Sites space, at least right now. I hope at some point they add e-commerce functionality, but right now Google Sites doesn't have the e-commerce components.
Can other apps be brought in? I use gather.com.
So you have to check the G Suite marketplace for whether or not it can be integrated, if that's what you're talking about. So if you're talking, are you talking about Google Sites? Is the individual talking about pulling Gather into Google Sites?
They'll need to retype the.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let me.
Yes.
And so forgive me, the user will also need to now tell me what Gather does. Is that event management, right? So you're just trying to embed like a calendar into the site?
No, it's furniture sites.
Okay, yeah. So I don't know Gather specifically, so I can't really speak to it. But if it's capable of embedding HTML or some kind of JavaScript, if you can embed it on any other site, then you can embed it in Google Sites. So that's not a problem.
Okay. Can the Google Suite do what SurveyMonkey does?
To an extent, yes. So you can do conditional questions, and you can do some interesting things in it. It's not going to be as sophisticated as SurveyMonkey, but it certainly can do a lot of what SurveyMonkey could do. So if it's a simple survey, absolutely. If it's more conditional formatting type questions, it can do some of that, but then it can't do some more sophisticated stuff that SurveyMonkey can do. But that's where maybe AppMaker can take over, because you could do some more sophisticated things with AppMaker that SurveyMonkey would also do. So the answer is yes, with the caveat that you'd have to have someone who is fairly sophisticated set it up.
Okay, so last two questions. A lot of them today, which is great. Good interaction. Where do I find the cost to transfer domain from GoDaddy to Google?
So what are we trying to, the domain?
Yes.
So if you go to Google Domains website, which is, I believe, google.com. Oh, no, just go to domains.google. Pretty sure if you go to domains.google, Google being the top-level domain that you need, domains.google, you will be taken to the Google Domains page, and in there you can actually type in the domain you want to transfer, and then it will do a little analysis to see whether or not it can, and it will tell you the cost.
And the last one is, I don't see an opportunity to enter or receive a promo code. So can you go over that again?
So if you go to, it's an email. So if you email support@w3cinc.com, it's a manual process because one of my staff members needs to actually pull it up from our spreadsheet and actually email you the code. And so you will create the free trial with the link on screen. w3cinc.com/G Suite will take you to the G Suite Google page, but it registers it as one that I've sent you to so that they can match up the promo code. I don't know how they do that, but they want me to do that. And then you have to email me. Once you send that email to support@w3cinc.com, someone on my staff will go ahead and register a promo code to you, email it to you, and then you will plug it into the promo code field in the billing section. So if it doesn't show up in the initial setup, you'll then be if you go to your admin console and click on billing, you will see a code in there where it'll ask you to put in your credit card information and the promo code, and it should accept it there. And if it doesn't, then respond to the email and we'll get someone from G Suite to figure it out.
Perfect. Ray, thank you for your time today, and thanks everyone for attending. That's all the questions we have, and we hope to see you all on December 12th for our next webinar in the series.